Hello everyone, it's William Bevins. Please excuse my voice. I've been ill for the last few days. I'll try to get through this without coughing or sneezing too much. I appreciate your attendance and hopefully you'll see my side of this. What am I talking about? It's something that has been a political, I would say almost nightmare for the outgoing president and will be for the incoming one, to where protesters stood their ground, eventually won because Mother Nature was going to come in and take them out. It could have been rather serious if they would have stayed there. And what am I talking about? The Keystone pipeline, where the Native Americans stood their ground saying that this pipeline would damage their water supply. Um, do we know for a fact that it would? No, we don't know either way. One thing I would go back to is to look at the pipeline that we put in through Alaska, 40 plus years ago, and there's been no environmental impact from that. As a matter of fact, the animals tend to go there when it gets bitterly cold so they can stay warm as the oil is going through the pipeline. But let's look at the pros and cons of this so that everybody can make up their own mind off of this. First of all, the big thing is they're saying environmentally this would be a huge impact. Well, back in 2008, the EPA, this was submitted to the EPA, just so you can go online and pull this up, Keystone Pipeline EPA, and read through it. It's a 7-page document. But the last page of the document, so everyone can see, it states right here where the check mark is that the EPA sees no environmental impact possibly happening from this going through. And this was signed back in July of 2008, saying basically that they can foresee no environmental impact. Could there be? Of course. No one can sit here and say definitely that nothing could possibly go wrong. Something couldn't fail. But in the grand scope of things, they don't see anything possibly happening. That was one fact to keep in mind. The Native Americans there believe that it's going to damage their water. It wasn't going to go through the river there. It was going to go underneath it. They're actually going to tunnel underneath it and put the pipe underneath. The other impact is that the majority of it, they are now within a half a mile of being able to connect this pipeline, because the majority of the pipeline was on private land. And back in 2013, even President Obama went to Cushing, Oklahoma, and in a speech said he would fast track it from Cushing down to the Gulf. Well, he really didn't need to fast track it because that entire section was all on privately owned land and there was very limited things that he could even do. The other thing is that one of his backers said if you'd wait on the northern half to put it through Congress until after the midterm elections of 2014, he'd put $5 billion in for the Democratic fund, which he did because they withheld it. Now we get to the big impact. Let's look at this. How many barrels of oil a day would be coming through? Is this pure crude oil? No, it's sand tar oil, which is going to take more to process. But how many barrels? They're estimating over 810,000 barrels would be pumped daily down through Illinois and down to the Gulf Coast. That's a lot of oil, which would help keep our prices low. All right, so we get 810,000. The negative side of that, it would affect us from even being able to go out and drill for our own oil. But with the price of oil has been for the last few months somewhere between $45 and $70 a barrel, even if someone wanted to, they could not make a profit here in the United States drilling for their own oil anyways. So could it affect jobs? Yes, it could affect jobs there. The other side of that coin is they're estimating it could put up to 20 to 40,000 jobs, indirectly up to 100,000 jobs on our side of the economy. So another plus and minus. The environmental impact. One side says that this is an environmental nightmare, that we become even more dependent on oil. I look at it as we're already using the oil and we're bringing it in from Saudi Arabia and other countries overseas. And we could be easily just bringing it north of the border. And until we can come up with another economical way of producing vehicles that don't run on fossil fuels, we're still going to use the oil. It doesn't matter where it comes from. So on the other side of that coin is they're looking at bringing in on the economy by bringing this oil down. $3.4 billion could be raised off of this pipeline. And like I said, bring in those jobs. So, but the negative impact is on the environment. The other side of that coin is, if we do not take this oil, where's it going to go? Canada isn't going to sit on it. Canada is working out a deal to where if this won't go through, it's going to go to China, which would be 810,000 barrels a day going to China, who is one of the worst in environmental. They have people in some of their major cities have to wear masks just to breathe. So we're going to go ahead and give it to them. And they're also in the process of trying to devaluate or even take our dollar out as the monetary standard. So it could impact us pretty poorly. A few other things on this pipeline that we're looking at is the, excuse me 1 minute, let me check my notes. Is the pricing of fuel. It is going to stay lower. We won't be as dependent on foreign oil with their fluctuations on a barrel. It would help level out our economy a little bit more, but it would impact the world economy. So once again, we need to look at both sides of this. The only thing is they were halted even on environmental by the Army Corps of Engineers, basically stating there was an environmental impact, and the EPA has already said there is no environmental impact. So President Obama stopped it. President-elect Trump is going to have a huge decision, and will also possibly be looked at as going against the Native Americans. So please, I'd like for you to do your little bit of research. New York Times has put out a piece, and also Michael Rossi expose, on the internet. You could look and see his notes as well. So I say we need to bring the pipeline in. From this information, please, you make your decision. Thank you for your time very much. I appreciate it, and have a great day.